Hello, this is Jessica from House of Heyday. Welcome to my victory rolls tutorial. I'm going to be showing you a classic victory roll today, so two rolls kind of coming up from the sides and meeting in the middle. But this is the method that I use for any sort of roll. So you might want to do one big roll at the front, which is called a suicide roll. You might want to do 3 different rolls. It's entirely up to you how many you want to do, how big or small you want them to be, but however many you have and whatever direction they fall in, it's the same method that I'm going to show you today. So if you can learn how to do a roll, then you can play around with lots and lots of different sorts of vintage styles. So before we get started, just a couple of things. It's best to do these kinds of styles on dirty hair. So I washed mine about 3 days ago, I think. If you've washed yours more recently than that, or if it feels really, really clean and slippy, then make it what I call product dirty. So the ideal thing is dry shampoo. Get loads of dry shampoo through it and it'll be much more mouldable. If you don't have any dry shampoo, you can use hairspray as well. Don't use wet products like mousse. Try and use something dry. And the other thing is, will be able to see that I've curled my hair. I have literally just curled it with curling tongs. I haven't done any styling, I haven't brushed through it, I've just curled it and let it cool. I find it a lot easier to achieve victory rolls when I've pre-curled my hair, but depending on your hair type, you might not need to do that. So you can jump straight into having a go with the rolls. If you struggle at all, you can always curl it and have another go. So there's a few things that you will need to hand. You'll need a working hairspray. So that's a light to medium hold hairspray, which I'll be using as I'm building the rolls. Then you'll need a finishing hairspray. I use this one all the time. It's called Got to Be Glued by Schwarzkopf. And it's literally like glue, so never ever use this as you're building a hairdo. Only use it at the very, very end to set the style. This is widely available in the UK. I don't know about other countries, but you should be able to get it in the supermarket here. You may, again depending on your hair type, you may also need some pomade. I love the front of this skull with victory rolls on it, and this is kind of it's almost a little bit waxy, and that's really good if you have any flyaways and you need to smooth out your hair. I don't know if I'll use that or not, I'll see how I go. Then you will also need a tail comb, so a comb with a pointy end for sectioning. This is a backcombing brush or teasing comb. If you don't have one of these at home, you can use a regular comb for that bit. And then I've also got a Denman. This is a boar bristle brush. So this is really good for kind of smoothing and finishing. Then you will need some sectioning clips and some Kirby grips or bobby pins, same thing. Okay, so I have parted my hair at the side. Victory rolls, if you're doing 2 rolls, always looks better with a side parting. If you have a middle parting, it can look a little bit like you've got horns, which isn't ideal. So aim for a side parting, and you'll be able to see from mine that I've kind of parted from the side of my head, but taken the parting diagonally across my head. And what that does is it just balances out the weight of the hair a little bit, so you haven't got a parting going here and a massive roll here and then struggling to kind of you know, have enough hair to do this roll. So that's why I've done it diagonally across my head. So what I'm going to do now is section from the top of my head to behind my ear. So the line that you're sectioning along here is kind of, if you had a hairband on, it's where your hairband would sit. So I've got one of my sectioning clips and I'm just going to hold that back bit out of my way. So hopefully you can see their section from the top of my head to just behind my ear. So it's this bit that's going to become the victory roll. So I've just got my backcombing brush, and because I've curled it and it's all sort of sitting in individual curls, I'm just going to brush that section through a little bit just to bring the hair together. Okay, and then I'm going to take a small section at the top, you're aiming for about an inch of hair, and then the roll that I'm going to do is going to sit this way. So I'm going to backcomb from this side so that the backcombing sits inside the roll. I hope that made sense. So what you do is you put the backcombing brush into the hair and push it down. You're not doing this motion. You take the brush out and push the hair down. And in a minute I'm going to look bonkers and it'll look like a bit of a mess, but you kind of have to go through the unglamorous bit to get through the glamorous bit. So I've teased that first section. Now I'm going to get another section of hair, and then I'm going to tease that bit too. So what I'm doing is adding sections of hair and then teasing the hair as I go, and it helps to bring the roll together if you add the sections to the rest of the hair and then continue to tease, rather than taking it section by section and teasing them on their own, because then you end up with separate sections. I hope that made sense. So I'm starting to get going now. I'm just going to use a bit of the working hairspray. So what this is doing is kind of adding bulk to the hair, but also making it very mouldable. It will all make sense in a minute. So I'm going to carry on adding sections of hair and teasing. I'm going to speed up this next bit of the video, otherwise we'll be here all day. Okay, so quite a lot of backcombing. It's looking a bit crazy. Don't worry if it looks a bit crazy. Also, if you backcomb so much that it stands up on end like this, that's a good thing. The only reason mine doesn't is because it's so thick. So what you end up with might feel at this stage like a little bit of a tangly mess, but don't worry about that, because now we're going to smooth and mould it into a lovely roll. Okay, so using the backcombing brush, I'm kind of using the very ends of the bristles, if that makes sense. I am just trying to smooth the outside of the roll. So I want to keep a lot of the backcombing I've just done inside, but I'm smoothing the outside so the bit that you see is nice and neat. And with your working hairspray, you can never have too much really. Okay, so just using the very ends of the brush just to smooth the outside of that section of hair. Okay, so now I'm going to do my roll. So I'm going to put 2 fingers, and the mistake that a lot of people make with rolling is that they start at the end of the hair. That's never going to work. Well, it can work, but it's really difficult to get all the ends in and that roll neat. So I'm taking 2 fingers, and around about halfway down the hair, just going to bring that section up a little bit, I am wrapping the hair around my fingers. Okay, and then I'm just going to push the hair into a roll, and for now I'm just going to use a sectioning clip to hold that in place. I'm just tucking in the end at the back there. And I'm just going to use another sectioning clip to hold that in place. Okay, so we've got the basic shape there of our victory roll. What I'm going to do now is do exactly the same process on this side of my head, because I like to just leave that there with the sectioning clips in while I do the other roll, so that I can kind of balance them, make sure they're roughly the same size and that they're working well together before I finally pin that roll in place. So again, I'm going to section from the top of my head to behind my ear. And I'm going to pin that out of the way, that back bit with a sectioning clip, and then I'm going to go ahead and start teasing this section. So again, I'll speed up the video at this point, otherwise you will be here all day. Okay, so now I'm going to mould this section of hair into a roll. So, as I did before, I'm just using the very ends of the back combing brush, the ends of the bristles, just to lightly smooth the outside of that section of hair. Okay, and I am going to put a little bit of pomade on my fingers just to smooth any flyaways. To be honest with you, it's because I'm struggling to see what I'm doing actually, so I don't know how smooth this is, so I'm just using the pomade as a little backup in the hopes that that's smoothing out my hair, but you don't have to do that bit. Okay. So again, 2 fingers about halfway down the shaft of the hair, and I'm wrapping the hair around those 2 fingers, and then you can see better what I'm doing with this one actually. What I do, my little trick, is to then catch the ends of the hair between my 2 fingers, and as I pull my fingers out, I kind of, at the same time I'm pulling those ends into the roll. And again, I'm just going to use a sectioning clip to hold that in place. A little bit of hairspray. Okay, so before I finish these off, a couple of things. It's really up to you how big you want your roll to be. If you want a bigger one, you can use 3 fingers. If you want a smaller one, you can make it a bit tighter. Another thing that you can do if you don't want such dramatic rolls is to do pin curls instead. I'm just going to take that out because I don't need that there now. So what I mean by that is when you do a roll, just like I've done it, but you pin it flat to the head like that, and that can, it's really pretty doing little pin curls like that. But also it's really good for people who aren't used to wearing vintage styles, because if you're not used to wearing vintage styles and suddenly you've got 2 massive rolls on your head, some people feel a bit self-conscious about that, or you know, they just feels a bit weird because you're not used to it. So you can make them flat to your head and pin them like that as well. Another thing that's important to say is victory rolls should be, let me get this right, caves, not tunnels. So what I mean by that is, and I'll show you how to do this in a tickie, but when you have finished your roll, you shouldn't be able to see through it. You see this one at the moment, you can see through it. That's okay because I'm just holding it in place while we spray it, and I'm going to finish it off in a minute. But yeah, when you've finished, you shouldn't be able to see through it. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish off this roll. So what I've done is kind of told the hair what I want it to do, and then I'm just going to roll it again and finish pinning it in place. So I'm just checking, a little bit of pomade, checking it's all nice and smooth. And then 2 fingers, rolling the hair round my fingers, catching the ends between my 2 fingers here. And then I'm just going to wiggle my fingers out of that roll carefully so that I don't damage it. And then I'm going to pin that in place with bobby pins. Now, the right way around to use a bobby pin is with the wiggly edge facing towards your hair. Did that make sense? Towards your scalp. And what I like to do is just catch the end of the roll and then push the Kirby grip in so that you can just see the end of it there, but you're not seeing the length of it down the roll. And because we've done all of that back combing and spraying, I've just put 1 Kirby grip in and it's holding already. So I'm just going to pop one in there as well, just to hold that in place. I like to try and make my hair look like it's being held by magic. I don't like to be able to see the Kirby grips. Okay, and then I'm going to finish off this side. I think we're pretty smooth there. grabbed an extra bit of hair. There we go. This little bit of hair down here wants to join in with the rolling. Okay, so again, wrapping around 2 fingers, grabbing the ends and pulling my fingers out. And I'm just going to pop a little curvy grip in this end. I'm just going to pop one at the back as well. And then this other bit of hair, if you want a really quick and easy way of styling your hair in a 40s style, you can get a hairnet and just pop the rest, pin the rest up in a hairnet, and then you don't have to worry about it. I've obviously already curled mine, so I'm just going to brush that through. And there we go. Just going to give this bit a little spray as well. So, there we have it, 1940s Victory Rolls. If you want to, you can add a little flower at the side. And there we go. So, thank you for watching. I really hope that's helped, and have a fantastic VE day. Bye bye.